Hey guys, what day is it? Hump Day! Welcome to Today in 10 or Less. It is Hump Day, Wednesday, September 18th, 2013. Today, what I wanted to do in class, what we did in class, was we wrapped up this whole idea of the writer's process. This whole idea of the writer's process, we got a chance to sit down and really roll it around in our brains, really analyze the writer's process. But we took it one step further. We want to be able to apply the writer's process and figure out why we're applying the writer's process and to really just get a good sense in our head of the possibilities that the writer's process unlocks for us. You see, I started you out with a question today in your fire starter, which you can get down below as always. I started you off with the fire starter that said, okay, be honest, and I wanted you to be really honest. Not just say what you thought I wanted you to say or what you thought I wanted to hear. Be honest. When you sit down to write something, and I'm talking about an assignment, like say an essay, what's the first thing you do and why? Is it helpful or harmful? Now, I'm guessing most of you, and I actually don't have to guess because I've been through all the periods today, most of you were like me. We had a couple really awesome people who say, no, I just get to work, I sit down, I get right to work, I go, I think, I brainstorm, and then I write. Well, good for you, but the majority of us, the vast majority of us, we're procrastinators. And we take a lot of time and we wait till the last possible second before something's due. If we got that assignment 2 weeks ago, we're waiting until the day before and then we're going, oh no, I haven't done anything. And we sit down and we stress and we stress and we stress and we think, I know, I'll go on YouTube and I'll just de-stress for a couple minutes. Or I'll put on some music and that'll really help me de-stress. Or maybe I'll just put on my show just for a little bit, just for a hot second, and then I'll de-stress. But all the while, what's going on in the back of your head? What's going on in the back of your head? You're saying, oh, I feel guilty. Oh, I should be doing this. Oh, I'm not going to get a good grade. Oh my gosh, we're not going to see you get right back to work. But then you overthink. And you go, oh, well, I got to do that. No, that's stupid. What can I... And you freak out. And you freak out. And then your parents come into your room. And they say, okay, turn it off, put it away, family time. Okay, turn it off, put it away. Turn off your computer, put away your work, whatever. It's time to go to bed. And you say, Mom, I got this assignment. And then you remember, oops, I was telling Mom that I was doing it the whole time. Oh, and she starts yelling at you. And it's this big fight, it's this nagging, it's this constant fighting, and it's this stress, and it's this nightmare, and all of a sudden you realize you have to just fly and work and just slop down anything so that you can turn it in the next day. And from the time that you sit down the day before it's due and you just crank out this nonsense, this gross, this thing that's caused all this stress and all this headache and all this fighting, you just onto the page, it's taking you 2 hours, start to finish, and you've got a really, really junky piece of writing and it has nothing to do with how well you could have possibly done. It has nothing to do with how well you could have possibly done. It's not you. You haven't taken the time to connect with your audience because you've never taken the approach that you know can create a quality piece of writing. This frustrates me to no end. Those of you who play sports, you know that there's a process when it comes to sports. When you get to where you are at practice, okay, your coach doesn't just say, okay, scrimmage. No! You go out, you run to warm up your muscles. Then you stretch to make sure that your muscles, oh, my hip just popped, I'm getting old. Then you stretch to make sure that your muscles are in good working order. Well, then you do little drills. You do little refreshers in your brain to make sure that every piece and every process is in place. You make sure you go over the plan. You do bigger drills until eventually you get out onto the field and you fully scrimmage to prepare yourself for the game. You know that there's a process. Those of you who dance, sing, act, do whatever, you know that there's a process. You know that you warm up your voice. Or you practice your lines, or you study your lines, and you take the smallest piece you possibly can, and you rehearse that scene. Well, then you rehearse that song. And then you rehearse that song and that scene together as they come in. And then you start to rehearse bigger chunks. And then you start to rehearse bigger chunks. And eventually you're running Act 1. And then you're running the whole show. And it's not for a while in the entire process that you actually get this show out. Or when you're painting something, and you think about it, and then you do a sketch. And then you erase parts of the sketch that you don't want, and you re-sketch. And then you start painting, and then you start... There's a process to it. Even those of you who are video game players. I talked to you today as well. Those of you who play like the Call of Duty. I know SOCOM's kind of outdated now, but that's what kind of comes to my mind, because I'm old. But Call of Duty, you know you can't just go sprinting through the battlefield, you're going to get shot. You know that. There is a process. You have things you have to find. You have stuff you have to get to. You have people you have to rendezvous with. You have all this stuff. You know that there's a process everywhere when you're building Legos. You know that there's a process. You open it up. There's a direction sheet so that you can build this beautiful thing that you've got on this package that you wanted to buy so much. You know that there's a process. You open it up. You follow it so that you can eventually play with that and it's effective. It's quality. Why on earth do we completely forget that when it comes to school? When it comes to our writing? I don't get it. You know that everything else in life is a process. And then you get to school and you expect to just fart out something that's really good. Hello? Hello? Wake up, it doesn't work that way. You know life doesn't work that way. So those 2 hours that you spent doing it the old way, right? You spent 2 hours. And this is the old way. I might even call this the dumb way. Okay? The way we usually do things. I'm no exception, by the way. This happens to me too. I have to make sure I remind myself not to do this. The old way, 2 hours. What do we have? We have procrastinating. We have nagging. We have yelling. We have guilt. We have all these things that are not so super good for our health, for our well-being, and for our education. It's not any good. We don't like that. And when all is said and done, we know when we turn in something that we've done the old way, I mean, if we've done the full assignment, you turn it in on time, chances are you can probably skate away with the bare minimum to pass. A 65. How many of you in here are proud of a 65? Nobody raised your hand during class. You probably shouldn't be raising your hand now. And I know your parents aren't satisfied with a 65. Now maybe if you're like at a really high level, you can get away with a 75. But that's going to be your ceiling if you do it the old way. Especially in my class, because I grade pretty thoroughly. I'm not super nice when I grade. I'm fair, but I'm not super nice. So, we've got the old way. But we just learned about the writer's process. This new way, as I like to call it, the effective way. Check this out. We did this math in class. You told me, and this was all your timing, and I even upped it in some instances. When it takes you some time to brainstorm, you already know your topic, you're writing a 2-page essay, that same 2-page essay that had all this headache and nonsense, you said it would take you 5 minutes to brainstorm. Okay. I asked you the same thing. Okay, now that you've brainstormed, how long would it take you to organize your thoughts? You said 10 minutes to organize your thoughts. Hey, you just completed pre-writing. 15 minutes. Now you know what to write. You didn't know what to write over here. You were just thinking, but were you really thinking? You were just spinning your wheels. We talked about spinning your wheels causes a lot of pain, causes a lot of smoke, causes a lot of whatever, a lot of wear, and you don't get anywhere. You don't get anywhere. 15 minutes. Now you have a blueprint. Now you have a blueprint, and you told me that if you had all of your ideas laid out for you, and it was all in the right order, it would take you about 45 minutes to draft. It would take you about 45 minutes to draft that 2-page paper, because you've already got a blueprint in place. You've got those Lego directions in place. All right. Well, then I asked you, do you have somebody at your house who would be willing to give up a little bit of their time to read what you wrote and to have a conversation with you about it? You all said yes. You have a brother or sister, an aunt or uncle, a cousin, a father, a mother, a neighbor, somebody who'd be willing to go through it with you. And I asked you how long it would take them to read that 2 pages. You said 5 minutes. 5 minutes to read 2 pages. That's about right. And to have a really good conversation with them, you told me it would take an extra 10. So how much time is that total? 15 minutes. 15 minutes to peer review. 15 minutes to peer review. Are you guys seeing where I'm going with this? Now then, we talked about, okay, you've drafted, you've gotten all of your ideas down, you've got that basic sketch, you've had that conversation. Now it's time to revise and edit. You have to revise and edit. Now those two things kind of take place at the same time. An awful lot of the time, they tend to take place. You do a lot of revision, then you edit that, and then as you edit, you find something that you left out and you have to put some more stuff in. So we combine the processes, and we said that it should probably take us about the same amount of time to revise and edit that it did to draft. So, 45 minutes. And you have revised and edited. Hey friends, if you're doing this on a computer like most of you said you would be, how long does it take you to publish? File, print, click. However fast your printer is, that's how long it takes you to publish. No time at all, right? Do me a favor, add up that time. Add up that time. Uh-oh. 15, 45, 1 hour. 15, 45, 2 hours. No more with the excuse that I can't do the writer's process, it takes too long. Mr. Kez, it takes too long. It takes you the same amount of time as the old way. And guess what? If you take your time and put in all of your effort to making sure that your published product is something of which you can be proud, a 90 to 100 seems very, very possible, even likely. And if you're one of those people who says, well, Mr. Kaz, I don't really type, I'm going to have to recopy all of that into a final copy. Okay, well, even for you, you all said that if you were just recopying, it would take you about 15 minutes. It would take you about 15 more minutes to copy it over. Well, guess what? Those 15 minutes, even if you're copying over, 2 hours and 15 minutes versus 2 hours. Well, guess what? 15 minutes could save you 25 points or more on your report cards. You sold that from Geico. I know. So, you know it, right? So, for those of you, for my typers, it doesn't take any more time. And you just ensured yourself that you are going to fully connect with your audience. It doesn't take any more time. It just takes a strategy, an approach. You know that life requires strategies. Why aren't you willing to do it when you get in here? If you do, you're going to save yourself a lot of procrastination, a lot of nagging, a lot of yelling, a lot of guilt, a lot of this nightmare. And guess what? If you consistently get 90s and 100s on things, I'll bet that the atmosphere at your house is going to change considerably. I'll bet your parents are going to be super proud of you at almost all times. If you make sure you commit yourself to any time you're doing anything in school, you follow the process that you know should take place, guess what, guys? You get a lot more freedom, and you get a lot more choice if your parents know you're handling your business. Well, if it doesn't take any more time to handle your business, work smart, not hard. If I'm tearing up a concrete patch, and I've got the choice between a pickaxe and a jackhammer, well, is the jackhammer still hard work? Yeah, that's a lot of power, that's a lot of stuff. Is it much more efficient and faster? You better believe it. So which would I choose? They're both going to take a ton of hard work. This one's going to be a lot more frustration, a lot more blisters. This is still going to be hard work, but it's going to get the job done much more efficiently. Be smart. Work smart, not hard.